private living. Private living, and we are using an officer, say a bedroom or something like this. Today is day 8, June 2022. We will have one simple question here. Considering that this is an accusation, we have a premise as corruption, and the corruption carrying elements of association, which is criminal association if the root cause or premise is corruption. And the entire thing raised from this point is a criminal organization. And transnational organized crime going on liquidity money curve, on our economy as a curve, and having white-collar crime, tax evasion, and financial evasion, fusification of tax and financial by evasion. Simple to get this. It's an interface between two both, the tax evasion from the treasury, the financial evasion from your financial system. The interface of two both, which is and piracy products and material gaps on investment saving curve. Second accusation is the corruption as a functional behavior, connecting different sides or allowing the permutative operation between different things by record. And we will be very clear on exchange markets. Then, when we are doing this economic and financial control and offered, for instance, to the FBI or something like this, you commit economic espionage. For instance, if this research allows to avoid loss by criminals, interconnected by corruption and operating by evasion, you committed economic espionage. Second accusation, the corruption as functional behavior violating civil rights and guarantees, or even committing industrial crime and having data modified by the mood of the criminal schemes going in regular area. Interconnect, as you could get on the model, with this research of 1 trillion as financial punishment by the judicial system, which has clearly exposed the relation between liquidity money, between the investment saving and the exchange market. It's the entire economic theory under control. And going as pandemic even, we have corruption in an international level, biohazard, weapons of mass destruction, and other elements on supply chain, consume, and frauds. Frauds that threaten and had been threatening we all. And for instance, you can have the speech about the Security and Food and Drug Administration since you do not create the instability or risks to allow you have this speech. Because sometimes, people is idiot. Yeah? Do not accept the consequence against the idiotism, which is a deeper level as cretinism. The cretinism, as you can have on our blog, Risk Report 2022 trace jun.blogspot.com, jun.blogspot.com, is kind of that finalism as committing crimes using control elements and instruments which will carry the mitigation as perception of effective and things like this, and in general having the background and protection of regular department filled by corruption. And we will ask the conviction by obstruction of you all. Why? Because if you have the crimes committed and we made our request considering the international environment to do the judicial analysis of crimes committed at this area, And the international analysis about a conclusive case can prevent the integration of all failures. The obstruction of justice indeed will be an interface or a gateway because has a finalism at this obstruction, which is oriented to do not have the proper perception or sense about the crimes committed. But why are you having a project or the prospection of a criminal future as pandemic event? Kind of you consider that you can raise your space like this and occupy the entire thing by the associations that you have, and to prevent, you know, and avoid this kind of reading, you committed the obstruction. And then you have this situation here. And if you got caught here at the liquidity money by the white collar crime, the evasion, and the fake money, especially fake dollars, and you consider that to achieve economic empowerment, you will use the economic factors as labor, other things which has a similar and analogic perception as Voltaire's or institutional empowerment, is this area here that indeed is a gap or an interface, or is the result of your obstruction by analogical inference perception considering the judicial system in America, the exchange and market, investment saving, exchange and market, boxed as obstruction, preventing the integration between investment saving cure for criminal purpose, oriented as finalism to be at the exchanged market, liquidity money cure oriented as finalism to be at the exchanged market. We suggest to have the accusation, which unfortunately has no escape, about obstruction using trial by jury, and the penalty is 8 up to 13 plus other crimes. Some of you will be many years on jail on federal prison America, and others maybe will send to a boat. Because this, as you can observe, the obstruction of reading as judicial power USA will be prosecuted. I'm offering an accusation, but the prosecution formally presenting all proofs that I offered as a financial service will be made by the American and by American judicial power as American prosecutor. Will allow you to get the exchanged market, and you must have kind of that spiral analysis. The extended market indeed is the same thing, very close to obstruction and traders and agents of situations, because you had the economic empowerment by the organization and mobilization of things as economic factors, which is the same mobilization as criminal organization, and scams with the root cause as corruption, pointing to liquidity money and gains or advantage, which can be a threat or a menace against someone, and this will be an advantage for you. It's the case of, for the motor or the price of commodity or something like this. You keep this hidden inside your system by fake data, but if this what got in the way we had was kept it in, and we are having the reading by other judicial system, indeed you did the obstruction of justice. And then here is the area that you will have the accusation as obstruction of justice, suggested the trial by jury, and the case here considering the interval Brazil, public body, a transnational organized crime unit under the judicial research of USA suffering interference that leads to obstruction, must offer who is leading this in Brazil, considering the corruption on liquidity money curve as premise of our accusation, interconnection by evasion. And in the same way as investment saving curve, with gaps prepared by discount police and other things like this. One more time and finish the presentation and the conversation for today, June 8, 2022, private space, Rio de Janeiro. It's quite simple to get. We have crimes committed. Crimes committed with orientation and direction. And after got this, you set lines or space to create the empty logical perception of things. Inside your system, for instance, in Brazil, it's a fake record. But when you do this during the judicial analysis of USA, you committed obstruction. Obstruction of justice with finalism and finalism oriented leads to a direction or a mentoring. Who is mentoring this in Brazil? Because our model, pretty effective, goes like this. And then 0 up to 33, 3 drivers. The first one, my research. The second one, for instance, the FBI. The third one, the Judicial Power America. They have 1% as 1 trillion as financial punishment. They applied here, got here, got here. And this, the entire area as the prospection of activity. And we consider that by analogical behavior, the 33 trillion indeed is very similar to 197 nations. And but indeed, you could gather to have at least 3 more nations not declared, like the immigrant, like the transnational organized crime, like the Constitutional Committee. We set a new space here, and we can get that indeed this is our model. Liquidity money curve. We will have our exchanged market by the players as 197 nation explicitly declared, especially operating by central banks, and one area here which is the 3 drivers transnational organized crime, the immigrants, plus the Constitutional Committee that if acts against the Constitution, indeed, they will be setting the investment saving curve as real side of economy, with paradigm as corruption caught and extended market dealing gains in the future by extended market. Is this confirmed? And it's clear why the obstruction is the trails of success, and for sure the getaway between all crimes committed, and to prevent or avoid all consequence in the near future that indeed we anticipated. To put this like this, one of the consequences is have this case as obstruction trial by jury, because the fake data in Brazil, if goes on in Brazil, is fake record. It's a crime. But if made during the judicial research of the American judicial power, you committed obstruction, and it's a crime that indeed is perpetrated. So do you consider fair American judicial power have this presented by your prosecutors and evoke the trial by jury? Have a nice weekend.